Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to give this 1 second as all of the attendees get brought into the event. So glad you could join us. You're seeing a few of your speakers here on stage now. And one by one, you're going to hear from each of us. So very, very glad to have you with us today. So glad you could join us. My name is Lisa Foster. I am with the Canadian Medical Hall of Fame, and we're the originators of this event today. We do this event, of course, with many partners. And two of the partners I'd really like to call out is, of course, the University of Ottawa, faculties of medicine and faculties of health science, without whom this event isn't possible. They're terrific hosts for you today. But also the Kiwanis of Ottawa, as the Kiwanis group is the main sponsor for this event and the reason that this event is even possible for everybody. By now, I think you're probably all old hands at doing events virtually. You know to stay on mute. In this format, you can't help but stay on mute. You also know that there's a chat option that you'll hear a little bit more about later. And particularly when you're in your workshops later on this morning, stay on mute unless you're speaking, but feel free to use your camera to get that interaction going on for the actual workshop in smaller group settings. All right. Feedback. I did mention sponsorship and partners. One of the things that our sponsors and partners really want to know is, was the event useful? Was it helpful? Did you get anything out of it? We talked about feedback in the lobby agenda. On the bar on the left, you will see a link that I'm showing up here for give us your feedback. If you open it, if you open the feedback link, you will see the first 3 questions to start your day. Please answer them. Don't close or submit the feedback survey at that point. Just go to another tab so that you're watching the show and keep it open throughout the morning, adding your feedback as you go along. All right. I saw lots of talk in the chat this morning about the gamification and the points. So when you're in the lobby, there is something called message board where you can see the points that are going on. And basically, if you're participating in the event, if you're attending this session, if you go to the different exhibits, download and watch the different things in the exhibits, participate in social media, the system has a way of giving you points. And right before the career panel, we will then take a tally of who the leader is at that point, and that will be, we'll announce the winner at the end of the career panel. But points gathered during the career panel no longer are counting, just a little heads up. So we want you to really be participating in the career panel itself, all right? You'll just look under the message board and you can see the leaders there. As a small incentive, we will be giving a $50 Indigo gift card to the person who is the leader of the points, i.e. participating in all the different aspects of the event. So the Canadian Medical Hall of Fame, what is it? I think everyone knows what a Hall of Fame is. It's just that our heroes are health heroes. We honor excellence by having an annual induction ceremony. We preserve history on our website with the stories of our laureates. And we hope to inspire generations by hosting events like this and bringing emerging youth and emerging leaders together with health heroes, our laureates, and healthcare workers. There are certainly Ottawa is well represented in the laureate department. There are several local laureates, even in addition to this. Their stories are on our website. So if you just Google Canadian Medical Hall of Fame at a different time, we really encourage you to explore the timelines and the stories and the contributions these Canadians have made to health here in Canada and the world. We also invest in awarding emerging leaders. So people who, young people in second year who are second-year med students who are already starting to display some of the qualities and characteristics of laureates with their leadership and their ability to rally other people to common causes. You'll also find their stories on our website. So really encourage you to take advantage of that great resource. And at this point, I am going to turn it over to Ottawa's own Dr. Jalali.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discovery Day 2021. I hope you're as excited as we are to get this day through. As you can see behind me, and Lisa, I don't know if they can see the camera, but behind me you have the health science building. And this is where the two faculties of medicine and health sciences are. So unfortunately, we cannot welcome you in person, but I just wanted to see the building. We hope that one day you can come and see all the labs that will be presenting today. The dean, unfortunately, Dean Jasma, couldn't be here, but he has a message for you that we're going to play the recording. Lisa, roll the video.
Medicine at the University of Ottawa. It is a pleasure to have all of you here with us today. My name is Dr. Bernard Jasmin, and I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine. The way we teach, learn, and work has changed a lot in the last year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many activities, such as today's event, have gone virtual, and we thank you for joining us in this new format. We have a lot of great sessions planned for you today, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to share with you our work. I hope that our time with us will introduce you to some of the possible career paths you could choose after high school. Medicine offers many different possibilities. Some people, like doctors, treat diseases. Other people, like research scientists, study diseases and search for new treatments and therapies. There are other people who work in medical imaging, for example, and try to find new ways to look inside our bodies with powerful machines. But everyone has a common goal. That goal is the desire to help people live better with healthier lives. If you leave here today thinking that science or medicine is for you, I hope that you will consider applying to the University of Ottawa. As you may know, we are the first and largest bilingual medical school in Canada. Also, we are one of the top-ranked medical faculties in Canada. If you're looking for international experience, we have partnerships around the globe. I won't take up too much of your time, but there are a few people that we should thank before we begin the day. First, thank you to the team of the Canadian Medical Hall of Fame for making this event a reality. Thanks also to Kiwanis for your support. And a huge thank you to Dr. Diane Lagacé, Catherine Dumoulin, and the organizing committee here at the Faculty of Medicine for planning this wonderful event. During the breaks, you are welcome to visit our Faculty of Medicine virtual booth, where you can check out some stories about our teachers, our students, and our researchers. You can also catch up on our social media and even go on virtual tour of our medical school. So here's to a day of discovery, an opportunity to find out if the world of medicine is right for you. Thank you and enjoy the day. Medicine at the
Thank you, Jasma. So as I mentioned, Health Science Building has two faculties. So we have two deans, and I'm grateful to present Dean Thibault, who's here and wants to talk to you. I wish you all the best on the discovery there. Dean Thibault, it's up to you. Merci.
Thank you, Dr. Jalali. I'm Lucy Thibault. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences at the University of Ottawa. I'm very excited to welcome you virtually to this Discovery Day, which offers practical workshops and a panel discussion allowing you to explore various career possibilities in medicine and health sciences. Today's program is offered in collaboration with the Canadian Medical Hall of Fame, Kiwanis, universities, hospitals, and research institutes across the country. In addition, you'll be able to interact with researchers, clinical personnel, and educators in their real work environment. Health matters to all of us. Being healthy is fundamentally essential for our well-being from a personal, social, and economics perspective. Here at the Faculty of Health Sciences, we are concerned about many aspects of health. These components are found in the teaching and research activities of the 5 schools the Interdisciplinary School of Health Sciences, which covers health from a cellular, molecular level all the way up to the social determinants of health. We have the School of Human Kinetics, which studies human movement and human performance under different conditions. We have the School of Nursing, the School of Nutrition Sciences, and the School of Rehabilitation Sciences. In rehab sciences, we offer physiotherapy, occupational therapy, audiology, and speech-language pathology. Our programs are structured to prepare our students to become leaders in the field of health sciences. In closing, allow me to invite you to visit our virtual booth for more information on our programs, view testimonials from our students, and much more. I'm sure that this day will be filled with many great discoveries as well as interesting interactions. Welcome, and I hope to have the chance to meet you on campus in the near future. And in the meantime, I wish you a great day. And now I'd like to introduce you to Professor Diane Lagacé, who is Assistant Professor in the Department of Cellular and Molecular Medicine, and she is a scholar with the Brain and Mind Institute. Diane?
Thanks so much, Dr. Thibault. So good morning. I have the honor to introduce to you Dr. Doug Manuel. So if you check out his Twitter account, you can see that he's a scientist, a professor, a public health physician, a family doctor, and an open science advocate. You might be asking yourself, how do you become all of that? So if you see on the next slide, he got his degree at Dalhousie, his MD degree. He then worked as a doctor in remote communities across Canada, such as all the way up in Churchill, Manitoba. He went to the University of Toronto, did then a master's degree in epidemiology. He did a residency in public health and preventive medicine. You could always ask him how long he was in school. And then he came to Ottawa. He joined the Ottawa Research Institute and the University of Ottawa and set up a practice at the Ottawa Newcomers Clinic Center. Also, he could achieve his goal to understand how can we most effectively improve the health of our communities and reduce our inequalities. So not surprising, these expertise have made him even more well-known since the start of COVID. Why? Well, on the next slide, you can see because he's the one in charge of 613covid.com, or CA, which he creates COVID-19 projections for Ottawa. He's a member of the Science Table for Ontario, and he makes regular appearances at CBC as one of our Canadian experts. And you might even have recognized him when you see his picture below from those interviews. So I thank you, Doug, for all you're doing to help us, including sharing your time and your wisdom today. We look forward to your talk.
So, hi, everyone. So I was asked to do one thing, and then I put an extra one in there. I was asked to just talk about my career path and the little journey. And I also wanted to talk about sort of saving humanity. We're in the middle of a threat to humanity or health. It's been really challenging, and I'm interested to talk about your potential role in that in the future threats, and to shine a light, I think, a bit on what I see as are some challenges for us coming up in the next generation. I don't have any slides, but I have some props that may or may not appear as I talk, because I'm not exactly sure how this conversation is going to go. Here's one prop, my boots from Churchill. And then I have them up here. This is one, just a little soapstone carving from Churchill. This is another one. This is another one that you may or may not have seen if you're in Ottawa. This is a little CO2 data logger that my kids and I built to know if the data quality is good in our schools. And actually, in here is just my little electronics kit where if I'm bored in a Zoom call, I was just working on a telemetry system for the rockets. And this, hope that we're going to talk about this. This is what I call the most important science study for COVID in the last few months. And this was published in Nature. So our most important science journal publication just about a month ago. And hopefully we're going to talk about that. And I think that's it. But I have, so this is completely random. That, you know, I am on TV sometimes, and I record from here. And for those in the West Coast, I have a book right here. It's called 27 Years in Canada's West. That's always up here. It's just our secret door to my office, and it goes upstairs to one of the kids' bedroom. I just thought I'd show you that. It's probably going to be the best part of the day. I've got a couple questions for you, and a couple links to the talk that I'm going to give. There's one that popped up there. Thanks, Victoria. Thanks, Ifran. It is intense. It's awesome. The kids we call it our zombie hideout. Like, we figure if there's a zombie attack, then they won't find us up there, except one of the kids is concerned there might be a Einstein zombie, in which we've got some problems. Oh yeah, okay, so the links are going up, and I'm going to put 3 questions up for you just to think about, and you can discuss them in that chat as I talk, and they're the second part of the sort of presentation here, and I hope that we're going to get to them. So what are the biggest threats to the health of humanity? COVID's a great example, or bad example. And I'm curious, for COVID, what do you think has worked well in our effort over the last year? And it could be in your school, it could be in your community, it could be globally. Like, what's worked well and what has not worked well? And then what's my third question? My third question is, social science. I'm curious. I don't know. You know, I haven't been in high school for a while, so I'm curious how much you know about social science and how much you've been taught social science throughout your education, and what you think about it. Do you think it's important or not? Okay, so good. Development of vaccines, antibiotic resistance. I'm going to get distracted probably looking at that. So what I'll probably do is keep on talking, then we'll go back and look at that a bit when we get to that part. So what you heard a bit about my career path, and I think there's a couple themes to how I've gone through to be a doctor of science. And I think one of them is, don't worry if you don't know what you want to do. And I mentor and have a lot of students and trainees as well, and it's a constant theme. I sometimes, I'm really happy what I'm doing, but I certainly didn't know what I was going to do. But one thing, I didn't worry too much about it. One of my strategies was to always kind of keep things open as possible. So I always didn't like to close doors and close opportunities. I always kind of like to make sure I had opportunities. And that's because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. But I think in knowing that I didn't know what I wanted to do, I kind of had this idea that 5 or 10 years from now, I'll probably be doing stuff that was totally off my radar right now. And I still feel that. And so kind of, I think it's helpful to keep open-minded. As well, we're all going to go through different careers. So I think part of it is finding your superpower for learning. And one thing I learned, and I'll talk about a bit about that as well. But if you can learn to learn, that sort of term, learn how you learn. Everyone learns differently, and try to always get myself in an environment where I could be curious and could learn, and could explore, so I could figure out like what I wanted to do. And you got to do that in your entire life. Maybe this is prop number 1. During COVID, my kids and I just sort of started getting into electronics. I had never done this before until a few months ago. And now we're doing all sorts of fun stuff. In doing this, taught myself 2 new programming languages, Python and and C++. So, you know, I get students all the time like, oh no, I know one language, whatever. I don't want to learn more languages. I'm just like, you know, I have not worried about stopping and learning new languages, even sort of at my age when I'm starting to get older. I love it. So that was maybe one prop. And then the third, yeah, so I think that's kind of the themes. And then I think the importance of social sciences. So what happened, like I went to undergrad at Dalhousie and I didn't really know, I love sciences. I'm sure a lot of you are like that too. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I majored in biochemistry and I minored in physics. And what that allowed me to do, I looked at the calendar, I kind of had my whole strategy. And up until the last term of my undergrad, I could switch my degree and graduate in biochemistry, chemistry, math, physics, biology, like basically any science. And my strategy was just, I'm just going to keep on going and see what I like, and then graduate whatever I like most. And then it was my final year. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I applied to medicine. I didn't really know if I wanted to do it. But there's a few things that attracted me to it. One is that it has this sort of marriage of people and science. Two, I could travel with it. I figured I could go pretty much anywhere in the world and practice. And three, it kept things open. I look at it and go like, oh my goodness, you can do all these different subjects and things for it. So that kind of felt pretty good for me. So I applied, I got in, luckily. And then I said, I'll go for the first year and see how it goes. And if it's fun, I'll keep on going. And if it's not, I'll do something else. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. So I kept on going. And it was in that first year too, that showed up. And, you know, like people in medical school, if anything else, that they've kind of learned to learn. And that they've successfully kind of navigated high school and undergrad. And I looked at all my classmates, and everyone was completely different in the way they learned. My best friend, he was a complete crammer. He had this great memory. He would just, you know, float along. He was very social. And then the last 2 weeks, he would just have his big bottle of Coke and just cram for the exams. For me, I don't have very good memory. You know, I have dyslexia, and some of the things like anatomy and things like that were hard for me. I love them. I didn't know I had dyslexia at the time, and but I think that my superpower was kind of my dyslexia as well. That I loved kind of reading around subjects, and to understand something, I would look at anatomy and I'd see the history of anatomy, and the physics of anatomy, and really learn from that. And that was my superpower. But everyone learns differently, and that's a great example of how you know, my disability is also my superpower. And then I graduated from medicine. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I found myself where I wanted to be an intern or resident, to kind of keep on avoiding all the prairie provinces. I was in the Maritimes, and the prairies are kind of scary for you, the winters. And I felt kind of just acted on that. And I said, no, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. It's just 1 year internship. It's terrible. It won't be that bad. I'll be working hard. So I went, and I kind of fell in love with Saskatoon. And then from there, I started having more exposure to First Nations, and I really enjoyed that. And then started working up north in Norway House, and then in Churchill. And you know, prop number 2. So you know, Churchill was really hard work, but really enjoyable as well. And you know, we do these medevacs and fly up north, and these were the boots that I bought, because you never know, you're flying up north, and you never know where you're gonna end up. And so you kind of find yourself putting your survival kit in, and then you get up there, you have to work in these. So in these boots, if you look closely, there's just about every body fluid imaginable on them. I've delivered a lot of babies in these, and there's amniotic fluid and in nursing stations and in planes, and there's blood, And I've had, when you're the physician, you're flying up north for the medevacs. It usually means there's something nasty going down. Someone's in a lot of distress, and so we would have snowmobile crashes and gunshot wounds, and not everyone survived. All the babies survived that I treated with up there, and that was some reward for me. Not everyone survived when I was wearing those boots, but all the babies did. Sometimes it took a lot of effort. One time I had to intubate a little premature baby in Repulse Bay, and for 6 hours we bagged them. And the next day I woke up and I couldn't move my hands. I didn't know why. And I had blisters on all my fingertips. It was just from manually bagging a little premature baby for hours. That baby did really well. So it was satisfying, and I really, really loved the work, but it also, I felt that I could be there for another 20 years and everyone would be sicker. And especially the Inuit communities were going through such transition. At that time, they were getting, cable TV and others. I just felt that people's health were getting worse. And as a physician, I didn't have that toolkit that I needed. I was just going to be working more and more and getting tired and tired. So that's what drew me back into public health. And I just felt that as a physician, I was really interested in the health of the community, but I didn't have that toolkit to help them. So I went back and studied prevention and public health. And during that, I've always been kind of a mathy guy, and started working with the large data at that time, and where we were just bringing on all our population health data, and did that for my master's in epidemiology, and incorporated that into my practice quite heavily. And now I spend most of my time doing population modeling or research using public health research using population data. And we do things like synthesize the entire Canadian population, have 35 million people that interact and age, and we use those techniques during COVID as well. So that's my career. Let's move on. I'm not sure how many more minutes we have. I haven't been keeping track. I think we got about 15 minutes. Let's talk about what I've learned from that. And what I learned from that is that these big challenges require a lot of different disciplines, and a few disciplines are underrepresented compared to others. I'm just going to take a look and see where we are with our, there's a lot of comments there. I almost want someone to summarize where we were for the biggest threats. Pandemics. What else do we have here? I don't see too much. Has global warming come up? Have wars come up? Have chronic disease, preventable chronic disease, like from things like obesity, come up? These are some on my radar. Any more here? Let's think about COVID. It's a threat to humanity. And I'm interested and I'm going to look and see what's worked and what hasn't. So what I'm interested in is, like, where are we right now? Where's the best countries in the world, the best jurisdictions in the world? And where are we? What's worked for them and what hasn't worked for us here, or places that haven't worked? And here's one thing I'm going to say, like, what do we know about COVID? I'm going to suggest to you that we know a ton about COVID. We know enough about COVID that we need to solve this pandemic. I'd say what we don't know enough about is another organism that's involved in this pandemic, and that's us. We don't know, like when I'm creating projections for COVID, I know the R T, and I know the infectivity period. I know the properties of that. Where the projections become difficult is modeling human behavior. What policies are we going to bring in? Are people going to follow them? These are things that I don't have great answers to. And this is in the field of social sciences. And so we know a lot less about ourselves than we do about this organism that's only been on the radar for a little more than a year. And I'd suggest to you, the biggest challenge that we have is not COVID, the bug. It's the host. It's what's infecting us. And you look at, like in Ontario, we've had some recent, it's been challenging for us at the science table because we create these science recommendations, and we're part of the decision-making process. So you want science to be part of the decision-making process, but you want the decision-making process to be involved with as many people as possible to represent different disciplines. And that happens sort of at the political level appropriately. You know, interestingly, one of my heroes in COVID, his name is Rudolf Furkoff, and he was a Prussian physician around the turn of the century in the 1900s. And he's called the father of social medicine. I don't like the term maybe father, maybe the founder of it. And it existed before that. But he was asked to investigate an unusually high number of deaths in coal mining communities. And his recommendations from that: start schools, start education, you know, start unions. And he felt that the most important way to improve the health of those communities was not building a hospital, you know, not medicines, but it was improving the social situation. And he has a quote. It's something goes along something like, here, I'll paste it here. I copied it from Wikipedia. And here's the history of medicine. I tap back to history of medicine constantly in my work. And I'm doing a lot of AI right now, and I've spent a lot of time looking at physiology and how that came in. It's very similar. But Rudolf Furkoff is a social science, and politics is nothing but medicine on a large scale. And so when I see the politicians struggling and saying, like, you know, we should close down playgrounds here in Ontario, and then you kind of wonder how that happened. You know, it's that's decision making. How do we make decisions as humans, and how can we make them better? And you know, we're taught that more and more that we are biased as humans. We have bias, racial biases, and other biases. And we have tons of biases in our decision making, in how we individually protect ourselves against COVID, how we make policies for that, and how we adhere to that. And so here's this one right here. This is an article in Science about a month ago. And what this was cognitive psychologists. And what they did is they had experiments like this. And in this experiment, they said to the participants, can you redesign this Lego so that it's more stable? So that if you put a block on here, it doesn't crush this poor guy's head. He looks kind of grumpy actually and crush it. So can you strengthen this or redesign this so that it doesn't fall down? And they said, you know, we'll give you $1 if you can do it. And I think they actually gave them $1. And you can use extra bricks if you want, but they cost 10 cents a brick. And then for some of the folks, they said, and you can take away bricks. So most of the people put extra bricks in here to support it. But the smarter, the better way, if you want all of the money, was to take a brick out and put that on. So not as many people found that out. And they wrote about how we are biased when we're looking for solutions. We add something, and less is more. That was I think that was the title of the paper. You know, and so this is understanding how we think. And if we understand how we think and make decisions, this is, I think, the most important part of COVID and global warming and war and chronic disease and obesity. And so this is just a plug, because I think it's not on the radar as much. I'm curious. I saw some of the things coming through here. Yes, that people don't care about. So how do we care about the pandemic? And just reading the comments, like how do you cognitively perceive that risk, and how you're influenced by those around you. So I'm just curious about how much you folks have gotten for social sciences. I saw some here. New Zealand did an amazing job. How did they arrive at theirs? Australia. I'm just scrolling through here. Air and water pollution, overpopulation, wealth divide, human, how we organize ourselves, artificial intelligence. It's not going to be the robots, it's how we build the robots. These are the themes that I want to just bring out to you. Humanity is the biggest threat to humans. Superbugs. Okay, so I don't see, I'm probably missing it, but whether you've had, I think traditionally we have biology and math and physics and chemistry in high school. But I think in a national level, our funding agencies, we have social sciences, health research, and engineering, and the smallest one, social sciences. And so my challenge to you folks is to think of the social sciences part of your problems. And I really think that we need to encourage our future students to think of social sciences and bring that into our science disciplines more. It is because it's amazing to understand ourselves and how we interact, and how much we still need to know for that, and how much time we spend on the molecular level or the physical level. But it's that how we interact as humans. We're almost identical to a fruit fly in terms of our DNA, but humans are like no other species. And how we've made decisions is like no other species. I give the example of, say, where you're walking, you're cave person, and you come to a clearing, and a tiger comes out and eats your friend. And what do? The first thing you do is run away. You try to run away as fast as you can, but then you mourn your friend, and then you start thinking, why did that happen? You start prognosticating. Was it the clearing? Was it the time of day? And no one else does that. No other species does that. But that same evolution that we had, that switch 200,000 years ago, has come with us. A survival, we've been evolved to survive in environments where we aren't anymore. We're not being attacked by tigers, but we still are wired to react if we have threats like that. And that introduces biases. It introduces biases as a physician, which I have to be very careful about how I am led down wrong answers. And that as physicians, we're taught to try how to come at the best answer. As a societies, we're still challenged with that, and COVID is an example of that. I'm going to end there. I think my time's up, especially since, but I'm going to end there. So thanks for listening. I really enjoyed reading your comments. I wasn't able to read them all as going on here, but I'll read them right now too.
Terrific. Thank you very much. That was awesome. A great use of props and a really thoughtful talk. You can see you'll have a chance now to look at the chat a little more detail, but there's a lot. You've certainly stimulated a lot of thinking, I think, among these students. I love your key message, right? Humans act like nobody else. They process information like nobody else. We have the power to do great things, but unfortunately, we also have the power to be responsible for some of the bad things. So we need to use our superpowers for good, I think, is ultimately studying that human behavior and our reactions to everything is as important as studying the medicine that would lead to this solving of all the problems. Thanks so much, Dr. Manuel. I think Dr. Lagasse had said in her intro to you, you know, we know there's a lot on your plate. It's a busy, busy time. And so you making time for our students today is really fantastic. Much, much appreciated. So students, I'm just going to wrap up with these last, with this last note here. We're about to go to a break, but there's also the opportunity for a meetup. So if you're looking at the slide that's showing, you can see in the left-hand side in the gold bar, the meetup opportunity just gives you a chance to connect one-on-one with random people who are at this event, one of the 200 other students who are at this event. And it just cycles you in 60 seconds at a time. So a great way to meet other people. Don't forget to continue to visit the exhibits during your break, and then your workshops will be beginning at 10. So going to the lobby, looking at the agenda, and taking a look and seeing when your workshop is ready to be joined at 10 will be the next step after doing the meetup. So thanks so much for being great participants in this in the keynote lecture. We look forward to seeing you in your workshops, and then we also look forward to seeing you back here on the main stage at the end for the career panel. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Let's go look at these